For the past few years, we have seen MMA fighters go over to boxing and have little to no success. We've seen guys like Francis Ngannou almost beat Tyson Fury and actually do very well. And we've also seen Conor McGregor fight Floyd Mayweather and have some success in the beginning. We've also seen guys fight Jake Paul like Tyron Woodley get knocked out for the first time in their career and look absolutely clueless out there. But it's rare we see boxers actually go into the MMA scene. We saw Clarissa Shields do it. I don't think that she gets enough credit for doing that. We've also seen Amanda Serrano, but we have one of the first major boxers to enter into MMA, and that boxer is maybe one of the most dangerous of them all, Deontay Wilder. Now, Deontay Wilder, for those of you guys that don't know, maybe only follow MMA and might not know boxing, Deontay Wilder is one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time. Yes, I'm including Mike Tyson in that. I'm even including Francis Ngannou in it because I think Deontay Wilder probably hits harder than Ngannou. I know that there might be some arguments because yes, Ngannou did do better against Tyson Fury in that last fight than Deontay Wilder did in his last two fights. However, there's so much to consider, right? Wilder and Fury 3 was an absolute war. How much damage did Tyson Fury take going into the Ngannou fight? Because when you see Ngannou touch some of these guys, they just go out cold. It is scary. His power is unlike anybody else, and going into MMA with 4-ounce gloves could be a disaster, but could also be very dangerous for Deontay Wilder. In this video, I want to break down what should Deontay Wilder do to start MMA. Does he even have a chance? Like, how far can he go? I'm going to talk about all that and more, but first, I want to remind you guys that the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're trying to 20K by the end of the year. You guys are the best fan base in MMA, so I know you guys are going to help me with that goal. And I have the new webcam, guys. Sorry for the missed upload. My camera broke, but it all worked out because I think that this is a better camera than the one that I've been using. And right now, I'm working on my setup to record these videos. What things should I have for this setup, right? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll definitely look into it. But let's get into Deontay Wilder. Now, Deontay Wilder is a guy who was the heavyweight champion, undefeated, only had one decision win, and the rest were by knockout. And he is, like I said, one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time. I know a lot of people might say, oh, well, Ngannou holds the world record for the hardest punch. Well, Deontay Wilder actually never submitted his punch into that competition. We have seen that his boxing skill of in itself is a little bit lacking. We saw Tyson Fury definitely be able to out-technique him and get the win that way, mixing in his new aggression and his new fighting style. And Deontay Wilder was at the top of boxing for a long time until Tyson Fury returned, and in their fight, it was a very close fight, and it wound up being a draw. And then a year and a half later or so, we saw Fury do the unimaginable and knock out Deontay Wilder, where he once again took a year and a half off and activated his rematch clause. Now, in the third fight, this was also kind of a close fight. Deontay Wilder had his moments, but overall, we saw Tyson Fury do very well against Wilder. Wilder returned in October 2022 to fight Robert Helenius. He knocked him out in the first round, a brutal knockout, and he is set to return later this month against Joseph Parker. Now, Joseph Parker shouldn't be slept on, but we're going to see what happens in that matchup. I think overall, it's probably going to go to Deontay Wilder, but after that, his future is a little bit uncertain. I mean, yes, there have been talks of him fighting Anthony Joshua, which I think will most likely be the next option, but you have a guy like Francis Ngannou who bursted out into the boxing scene, right, who had an amazing debut against the heavyweight champion in Tyson Fury, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and actually arguably beat him. Like, I think that it's hard to argue the fact that Francis Ngannou didn't beat him. It was a close fight, but yeah, I thought Ngannou beat him, and that's surprising to say. And Ngannou has now made a name for himself in boxing, and now he is what all these boxers want to fight, right, because now he has some actual credibility with it seemingly being an easy matchup, right? And I say seemingly because we saw Tyson Fury, a guy who, you know, made Deontay Wilder look easy. He struggled against Francis Ngannou, and it's because of his unorthodox style. I mean, the guy was switching stances. We don't really see that so much in boxing. Fury has switched stances in the past, but I mean, the way that Ngannou was doing it, I mean, he was doing it so many times in a round, and overall had a really good game plan going into that fight. And of course, it's hard to ignore the power from Ngannou. Of course, that definitely helped him succeed. But why am I bringing this up? Well, of course, Francis Ngannou was the former UFC champion, and he is extremely good at mixed martial arts. And with Francis Ngannou signing to the PFL and saying that his next MMA fight will be with the PFL, and with Deontay Wilder going on the PFL saying that he wants to fight in MMA.
Thought about this many times, even with Ngannou, you know, we was talking about getting together. I even offered, you know, you always see the MMA guys crossing over, but you never see the fighters, the boxers crossing over. So I said, you know, I wanted to make it more interesting for the fans and just the whole comeback family as in a whole, you know. I said, well, how about you come to my backyard, and after we handle business, I can come to yours and cross over. And I really meant it.
With there also being training footage of Deontay Wilder doing some MMA stuff, calling out Francis Ngannou, it's hard to deny that this matchup would be perfect. I mean, both guys are heavyweights, both guys have very, very hard punches, and it seems to me that Deontay Wilder is gunning to do some sort of event where maybe the first event is in boxing, right? Where maybe he boxes Francis Ngannou, and the second event is going to be in MMA. Now, this idea has been talked about for so long, right? All the way dating back to Conor versus Floyd. There was talks of maybe them doing a mixed rule set. Maybe one would do boxing, the other would do MMA. At the end of the day, as hard as it is for an MMA fighter to transition into boxing, it is 10 times harder for a boxer to transition to MMA. I mean, look at it like this. I mean, boxing is just one of the martial arts in mixed martial arts, right? I mean, you got so many. I mean, there's infinite things that you could study and infinite things that your opponent can bring at you. Whether it be kickboxing, and even in kickboxing, there's different types of kickboxing, whether it be karate, Muay Thai, Taekwondo. You also have different types of grappling, like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo. We finally saw that Deontay Wilder is training some jiu-jitsu. He posted a picture of him training in Las Vegas with the coach, and it seems like that he's going to be sticking with him for a while in preparation for his MMA debut. Now, what should Deontay Wilder be doing in preparation? Well, like I said, first of all, if you're fighting a guy like Deontay Wilder, I think the game plan is pretty simple. You would try to take him down, right? Anybody would try to take him down. The guy doesn't really have any wrestling experience that at least we know of, but we know that he has some good boxing and has some dangerous knockout power. Like, we've seen guys like Derek Lewis, who is kind of similar, who really doesn't have good takedown defense, but beat wrestlers like Curtis Blades by knocking them out with his power. Power that negates all skill is the type of power that Francis Ngannou has. Deontay Wilder even acknowledges this by saying, look, his opponent needs to be perfect through the whole fight, but he just needs to be perfect for a little bit. And that's dangerous regardless, because he's knocking dudes out with 10-ounce gloves, and I could tell you there is a massive difference between 10-ounce gloves and 4-ounce gloves. 4-ounce gloves hurt a lot more. Like 10-ounce gloves, honestly, if you have 10-ounce gloves on and the other person has 10-ounce gloves on, honestly, it is very hard to get hurt if you have your hands up. Obviously, then you would start going to the body, opening up the head, and you don't want to take one of those clean, but honestly, look, like if you look at the Dylan Dennis performance with Logan Paul, none of those shots were really hurting Dylan because that is so much padding. We're talking 20 ounces of padding, over a pound, and we've seen guys cover up and still get knocked out by Deontay Wilder. I mean, some of his knockouts, I mean, you guys just have to look them up if you guys haven't seen them already. And so what I'm trying to say is you got to work on the takedown defense. It sounds obvious, but at the same time, it is dangerous because there are so many different types of takedowns and different types of trips, because yes, it is pretty easy to defend the double leg and the single leg, right? However, there's also trips, there's hip throws, there's awkward takedowns that people can get on you that you're not really studying for. You're not really thinking, oh, I have to defend this takedown. This might be the first time you're seeing this, especially a guy like Deontay Wilder, who to my knowledge has not been training MMA for a while, unless he's been doing it in silence this whole time, which is pretty possible. Now, on the jiu-jitsu side of things, I don't know how experienced Deontay Wilder is, but Wilder does have some long limbs, right? Like, I could definitely see those long legs of his being able to get some triangles, right? He kind of reminds me of having like a Kevin Holland type body, a very skinny guy, long, with power. And I think also another concern is those calf kicks. I mean, look at those legs of Deontay Wilder, right? They are skinny, they're pretty small. It looks like a couple calf kicks and he's not going to be able to walk, right? I mean, look at Ngannou. Ngannou is massive. We've seen Ngannou wrestle against Cyril Gane. And overall, I think it would be a mistake for Deontay Wilder to go to MMA. I just think that at the end of the day, it's inevitable. I think he's going to get embarrassed in MMA. Look, if he was 30 years old, maybe 35 even, I might be on his side. I actually did say that Deontay Wilder should do MMA back in like 2020-ish. I said, look, he has the power. If he connects, skill doesn't really matter. And it's still true. At the end of the day, he could touch somebody up. He could maybe knock out Ngannou with 4-ounce gloves. But at the end of the day, the dude is almost 40 years old. Heavyweights are old, yes, but at the same time, do you really want to be putting your body through all that grappling, all that wrestling for the first time? That recovery isn't going to be there as it was if you were like, you know, in your early 20s, early 30s. And especially with the damage that Deontay Wilder has taken, especially in those Tyson Fury fights. I mean, the guy has taken so much damage to the head. I don't really see it going well for him, and maybe he can go to 205 pounds, because keep in mind, the guy like weighs at like 215, 220 or something like that. So he's not so big, and he probably could cut to 205, but most likely, I think he's going to probably at some point compete against Francis Ngannou, whether that be in boxing or both MMA and boxing or just MMA. I think we're going to find out. But guys, let me know in the comment section below, do you guys think that Deontay Wilder stands a chance in MMA? I really think that this might be a mistake for him. I think he's going to get embarrassed. I think that this will probably be like a first round finish, but maybe I'm sleeping on him, man. I'm just saying though, even if this guy spends the next 2 years working on MMA, I mean, the guy's going to be 40 by then. I just don't see it, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I don't want to be a hater. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA and boxing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.